What do people really think about Aboriginal Australians?
As I see them every day drinking.
Get off your arse and do something if you want to escape your plight.
I don't think you can just uproot culture.
Years they'd lived in harmony on their land.
Frankly, it should have died out, like the Stone Age.
I don't connect to that. It's their land and we've taken it from them. Happened a long time ago. We all need to move on.
There's just been too much BS about Aboriginality, culture.
We love to be disrespectful to other people's culture and races. It's almost like sport.
6 out of 10 Australians have had little or no contact with Indigenous people. This group of well-known Australians represents that 6 out of 10. All with strong opinions, they've agreed to leave their everyday lives behind and embark on a unique journey deep into Aboriginal Australia.
Here we go, people.
Actress Nikki Went.
All I know is that if I'm in a mall and there's 30 black guys and me, I'm frightened.
Singer-songwriter Natalie Imbruglia.
I want to get the truth. I don't just want to be spoon-fed an opinion.
Television personality Ian Dicko Dixon.
What happens if I find out I'm just a dirty big racist?
Former Miss Universe Australia Renee Ayres.
I've been spat on, I've been abused, and that's all I've seen from them.
Comedian Tom Ballard.
We live in a progressive society, and progressive societies care about the most vulnerable and disadvantaged people.
Former One Nation politician David Oldfield.
Aboriginality is just unnecessary. It's not really in the best interests of Aboriginal people.
Guiding this group of outspoken Aussies is award-winning journalist Ray Martin.
These 6 people have no idea where they're going or what's in store for them.
Get it up him!
But given their strong opinions,
Taking someone on face value is evidence.
it's certainly going to be challenging, if not confronting.
Enough is enough.
If you feel uncomfortable with me being here, I will just as happily leave your land.
So far on their immersive journey, the group have seen the harsh reality of life in Aboriginal Australia.
Wayne, I thought he could have been dead.
Probably the worst toilets in Australia.
I'm gonna be sick.
Their views have been challenged.
In the Constitution, this country is so racist.
It doesn't mention races.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they had white people in mind.
And now you're talking about what they had in mind.
Their emotions pushed to the limits.
I mean, how is that right?
Boys were chained to this tree. Right there, mate.
I just feel sick.
Tonight, the journey enters its final stage.
The new intake will be strip searched.
As the group discover what life is like on the inside.
I'm in a prison. I'm in jail.
The 6 have spent the past 2 days hearing the horror stories of the stolen generations. With emotions still running high, they're making their way back to Sydney Airport, where Ray Martin is waiting with a special guest to hear what the group have to say.
Now, obviously, I'm not alone. I've got Stan Grant with me. Stan is a Wiradjuri man. He's a journalist and also an author. Stan, welcome.
Yeah, thanks. Nice to be here.
Nice to have you. 2 days ago, we were here in the same spot. I asked you what you knew about the stolen generation. Renee, let's go to you again. What do you know now about the stolen generation?
So much more than I did know. I'm actually quite ashamed about how little I did think about it and how much I took on board what everyone else was telling me, which was it was for their own benefit, which I found out was completely wrong.
David, here 2 days ago, you took a position that they were not stolen, that they were, in most cases, rescued.
I don't think stolen is the word. I've never thought stolen was the word. I think we still have a situation where the children were removed. There's no argument that many of them finished up in awful circumstances, but I do not subscribe to the racially motivated genocide scenario that so many people seem to want to find. I just don't subscribe to that.
Tom, rescued or stolen?
Stolen. There was racially motivated violence committed against these people. I don't know what else that can possibly be. They were stolen.
And you know, maybe the problem here is that we're all grasping for really neat tabloid terminology, which stolen generation is.
Sam, help us come to terms.
There is a more mundane, a very simple terminology. These were people's lives. These are human beings. Now, in my case, you were at the Cootamundra Girls' Home. My great aunt was taken there. She was sent there and she lost her name. She was given a number. Her number was number 658. And from that moment on, every aspect of her life was controlled by the state. She was trained there to be a domestic servant. She died when she was 36 years old from complications from rheumatic fever that she contracted in that girl's home. She left behind 6 orphan children who then had to live with the trauma that their mother had gone through, passed to another generation. These are people. These are real lives. We live with this every single day.
And they believed they weren't Aboriginal. One of the women with very dark skin, she's like, they convinced me I wasn't Aboriginal.
Well, I think Natalie too, what they told them is that it was something bad in being Aboriginal. And that's not removing people for their benefit. That's removing people to tell them that what you are is inherently bad and you need to become more white. If you believe that, isn't that then you pursuing what you believe to be for a person's benefit?
But if those good intentions are based on racist presuppositions that being white is better, then that is a bad thing, and we should judge those racist acts from history as racist. And if today you still don't support an apology...
If you had been an adult at that time, you'd have probably, very likely, percentage-wise, thought that yourself.
But we're here today in 2016, and you're denying people an apology. You don't support an apology.
It's not up to me to apologise. It's already been done.
David, no one would dream of forgiving the Holocaust because of a few well-intentioned Germans.
I don't think there were any well-intentioned Germans in the Holocaust, not one.
Yeah, but that's kind of the same filter you're applying to this,
it's not.
Because,
do you know
what? We're not really
it's appalling you should
genocide. We're just making the trains run on time. Now, I think it's okay for us to sit here now and take a deep breath and say, was that good or was that bad? And frankly, looking at what happened here stinks. It was racist. It was the worst form of colonialism. I'm ashamed that, frankly, it was part of my country's doing. And I think there's a justice that needs to be put right here.
I don't get caught up in the whole thing about labelling. I don't get caught up in the whole thing about trying to hold people to account for what happened in the past. We live with it. We live with the reality of it. That's my position. There is an identifiable group of people who were taken. Those people suffered. And we honour that suffering and we acknowledge what happened. And where possible, try to move on and try to build stronger lives for people.
With just a few days of their immersive journey remaining, the 6 have no idea what awaits them next.
I don't know where we're going, don't know what we're doing. I wish I did, because, I know there's probably nothing I can do about it. It's just this stepping off the edge of a diving board on a daily basis.
Wow, it's really, it's so small.
Oh, wow.
For one of the group, just getting to the next location is proving to be a challenge.
Oh, it's really happening. It's a very small plane.
Whoa! It's okay.
Oh, it's all right.
The 6 are on their way to Derby in the remote Kimberley region of Western Australia. Nikki may have found the journey terrifying, but it's nothing compared to where she's heading next.
I think today is probably going to be the most confronting so far on the journey. The fact is that less than 3% of Australians are Indigenous, less than 3%. And yet 27%, over 1 in 4, people behind bars are Indigenous. 3% is against 27%. And up here, that figure is even greater. So today, you're going to experience the reality of what it's like to be behind bars. In a few minutes, a van from the West Kimberley Regional Prison will arrive here and collect you. That is all of you except you, David. David, the Minister for Correctional Services here in WA has intervened, and he's told us that he doesn't want you to go inside the prison. I don't know why. It's not our call, it was his decision. It's unfortunate. We would like you to go.
I would like to go as well.
We asked, and the reply was no comment. On that.
It's appalling, really, right?
Yeah, I
would have liked to have gone. Just single me out, you know, as a retired member of Parliament, that I'm not allowed to go in. What's he worried that I'm going to see? What is it that he's worried that I'm going to say?
I can't answer. All right, for the other 5, the van's ready. Please go, and you'll be able to join
I'm
David.
not sure I want to go if David's not going, frankly. Good on you, Dicko. No, I think that stinks. I think we have someone here who, much as I disagree with what he says, represents a different point of view, one which is represented on a lot of lounges all around Australia. Well, what do you guys feel about it? Do you not feel this is a little bit out of order?
No, I don't. I think maybe David's reputation has preceded him in this instance.
I'm still going.
I also think it's a really unfortunate decision, but also I'm here to learn. I think all of us who do go to the prison can get a lot out of it, and we'll find out a lot about what life is like for incarcerated Aboriginal people. So I'm still keen to go.
So it is extraordinary that we've not even been given the courtesy of some vague reason. You can automatically just presume.
You've been in the middle of politics. They don't have to give us reason. Yeah. They just say no comment.
Really appreciate it. That's all right, mate. It's very decent of you.
We're going straight to jail.
With David and Dicko staying put, the rest of the group make their way to West Kimberley Regional Prison.
Wow, it's seriously in the middle of nowhere, isn't it?
For all of them, it's a journey into the unknown.
I didn't know anything about Indigenous incarceration, how many were behind bars statistically compared to white people, so that was a bit of a shock. That's why I'm keen to find out what's put them behind bars.
Well, they're criminals, aren't they? In jail, locked up for a reason, so I think that's what I'm most worried about. They've done something wrong.
You know, the truth of the matter is we're going to see people who have committed crimes, whether major or minor, and that's confronting.
If you're Indigenous, you're 15 times more likely than other Australians to go to jail.
Here we go, kids.
The 4 are about to experience what thousands of Aboriginal people go through every year.
Whoa, we're getting driven straight in. This is how the prisoners would really arrive. Oh my God.
Look at that giant fence.
Serious fence, isn't it?
Oh, look at where we're going.
Must be the worst feeling to be caged in. Okay, this is kind of scary.
Wow.
The 4 travellers have arrived at West Kimberley Regional Prison. Like all new inmates, the group must hand over their possessions, get dressed into prison clothing, and be searched.
I'm going to check that, there's nothing sort of hidden in there.
For Tom, it's an opportunity to quiz prison staff.
Do you ever find anything?
Heaps.
In the strip search? What kind of things do people try and get in?
You get all sorts of drugs, money,
Yeah.
phones.
Right. And do you know personally a lot of the people who come through? Like through
A lot of these lot in there, I know their mothers and fathers.
Yeah, right.
Welcome to the inside of West Kimberley.
With processing complete, the four are about to come face to face with their fellow inmates for the first time.
4-1, this is escort 1 over. Entered your unit with 3 females, heading straight to house 2 over.
If you be a naughty boy, that's where you end up down there.
What's that?
That's all the padded cells.
Padded cells?
Yeah, padded cells down there.
Right.
But they soon realise that this is no ordinary prison.
I mean, I've never been to any prison or jail at all. And I've only seen movies and TV shows, but it just looks nothing like what I would think it would be like. Okay, this is me.
Yeah, this is you. We're going to meet some of the fellas in here.
Designed specifically for Aboriginal inmates,
Hey guys.
this is the first prison of its kind in Australia.
This is Tom.
Hello.
Yeah, put your stuff down
Hey
there.
guys. Is anyway? Yeah?
The prisoners live in shared houses,
Hey, there you go.
8 inmates grouped together by family ties or language.
Hey mate. How you doing? Tell me.
Free to move around during the day, they're given independence and also the opportunity to learn skills and gain qualifications.
That's where we get all our food, get all the meat.
Whoa.
The inmates also cook and clean for one another.
You got a knife here.
Oh god.
But
Yep. Oh wow.
you can't.
You can't take it
Yeah,
away.
so no one
Oh,
will take it
okay.
away. They lock it up.
Well, I guess there's no forgetting you're in a jail when this is your view.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
That's,
Nikki and co are getting to know their
Certainly a
new
reminder,
housemates.
isn't it?
Across Australia, the female incarceration rate has doubled in the last decade. And Indigenous women account for almost the entire increase.
How long are you in prison for?
3. I'm only doing 3 months so far, but I'm got 18.
You got 18.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you been to prison before?
No, this is my first time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can we ask what for?
Yeah, that's all right. It was from alcohol again.
Yeah.
I'm having a bit of problem with my partner.
Mm-hmm. Have you got any family or anything in this prison? Either of you?
Yeah, family here and on the other side, some boys. I have my brother out there. I visit him every Saturday.
He's on the other side?
Yeah, visit him on this Saturday coming up.
And what's he done?
Dashing worker.
Alcohol?
Yeah.
Oh, that's related.
Wow.
For almost all of the women here, alcohol has been a factor in their imprisonment.
I respect my elders and that.
And for Roberta, it's been particularly destructive.
When we were drinking and my family get on my nerves, I sometimes self-harm myself.
You do?
Yes, because because I don't want to harm them, so I ended up doing it to myself. So and I release my anger. But today, I've started slowly snapping out of it, so I don't hardly ever do it anymore.
Did it mainly happen when you were drunk?
Yes, because that's when I couldn't feel the pain. So I do it deep, where there was a point where you could see fat, see fat, you know?
I saw the scars on your arm.
Yeah, even on my leg.
It's there, yeah.
And on my legs and that, yeah.
Around 80% of all Aboriginal inmates re-offend and return to prison. And they do so at a far greater rate than non-Indigenous prisoners. Tom wants to know if this place can help break the cycle.
Do any of you guys think you're going to re-offend once you get out?
Yeah, pretty hard to say in here, you know, because we're in here now. Environment like this, you know, we got no alcohol or no drugs, you know. As soon as you get out that gate, as soon as you're free, you know, everything right there, yeah.
There's temptation outside, you know?
But you know what's going to happen if you do something silly, which could mean coming back here.
It only takes a split second.
Yeah, right.
Something could happen, you know? You don't know. It's like some people are not bad people. Like they just get caught up in bad situations.
After meeting Aboriginal inmates for the first time, Tom's left conflicted.
They can't guarantee they're not going to have a drink, might get charged, and then they're going to do stuff. Some of them could not really honestly, and I really appreciate their honesty, could not honestly guarantee for me that they're not going to re-offend.
And Nikki's also torn about whether this unique prison has the answers.
The heart says this is the most brilliant way to reform people. I think it looks like a really neat, tidy, friendly, proud version of the communities that we've seen. So that's the heart speaking. The head has a lot of questions.
As night falls, the four are asked to report back to the prison reception block, where Ray Martin is waiting with the prison superintendent.
Okay, can I ask you sort of instant image about the prison here? What would you say?
It was extremely relaxed, and it was as far away. If you ignore the fences running around the entire facility, it's as far away from a prison or a jail that I ever would have imagined before. I'm still not convinced whether that's a good or bad thing at this point. Honestly, I'm still running through a lot of that in my head.
What do you mean you're not convinced?
Well, I'm really interested in hearing from the superintendent about what effect it has on people reoffending. And for some people, if this is a better place for them than their home life and their community, it's very hard to understand how it's a deterrent or how...
You mean like a resort, somewhere you go to and recover?
An inmate described this as a holiday camp, having spent some time in Darwin.
They also said that they would still prefer to be out and their freedom's taken away and they still lock the door and you can't just go to the shop whenever you want. So although it's comfortable, I said if you had the choice... Well, Nikki, you asked the question.
I did.
Are you more comfortable in here than out there? And they still would have obviously preferred to be home with family.
Yeah, how would you, Doug, explain that in terms of, is it a holiday camp?
Well, no, it's not. When prisoners come into our care, they come as punishment, not for punishment. So what's actually happened is all their freedom's been taken away from them. The other side, what we also have to look at is if we treat them badly, we're going to release those people back to the community. So if they come out of here and they're angry when they're leaving reception, ready to walk through the front gate, as a member of the community, what are you going to get? They could be living right next door to your house. This is all about trying to rehabilitate them the best we possibly can so we can reduce reoffending, maybe not on this generation, but future generations as well. Because they've all got kids. So it's about stopping their kids and their kids and their kids.
All 195 prisoners are locked in their units. But the night is not over yet for the 4 guest inmates. They have a decision to make.
I've got 1 spare cell available. You'll actually be secured inside that cell for the night.
So the 3 ladies can stay together in the 1 cell if you want to, or else Tom can stay, it's one or the other, right, Doug?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. But it's never happened before, by the way. Ladies, would you like to stay?
Oh, no, thank you. I'm opting out.
With the greatest respect, I'd prefer to not stay overnight. I'm happy to come back tomorrow, spend all day with the girls.
I'll stay. I'll fucking stay. Sure. I'd love to stay.
Every night in Australia, around 10,000 Aboriginal people are behind prison bars. Western Australia is the epicentre of incarceration. It's reported that 1 in 6 Indigenous adults here have been locked up at some point.
Secure.
For Tom, it's a unique chance to consider just how far prison has become part of life for Aboriginal Australians.
A whole group of people in our society are kind of just accepting, well, not accepting, but are compelled to accept the idea of going to prison as a pretty regular part of their existence. Or it not being remarkable that someone's gone to prison. That's not great. That's awful.
Day 2 in West Kimberley Regional Prison.
Nice view of the fence.
And it seems Tom won't be alone for much longer.
Control, this is escort. Can you open this sliding door, please, over?
With David still banished, Dicko's decided there's no point continuing his one-man protest. Together with Tom, the 2 former radio presenters have been invited into the prison's very own recording studio, where Nigel is ready to share his past.
This is a story I done to try to stop me getting into trouble on the other side, and this would be a reminder, you know. I moved into Derby at 17. That's when I started drinking, smoking, stealing, fighting, and getting into trouble. I have been in and out of jail for about 10 years now. I need to settle down for my nephews and explain to them not to do what I have done. This is my story.
Yeah. How's it feel when you hear that?
You made me, lift my spirit up, you know. Doing that, what I never experienced before, has made me feel real proud, you know, proud of myself. Like, the bottom line is, it really comes down to your own self, you know. It's up to you to make your choice to try and change your ways.
So when you leave here, do you think you'll feel differently than when you leave those other
I reckon, man. Yeah, I learned a lot about my life. I really don't want to waste my life just drinking and doing the same thing what I done and end up back here. I'm gonna try to fight real hard this time, you know.
Thanks, man.
Cheers.
Very much.
No worries, man.
Thanks, man.
For Tom and Dicko, Nigel's story has been a revelation.
Yeah.
What we heard there with Nigel was a guy finding a voice. And I think finding a voice and being able to express yourself they're the first meaningful steps towards really taking a good look at yourself and where your life's going.
That felt like a little bit of therapy as well there, wasn't it? Because it was him reflecting on how he came to be here in prison and, you know, thinking about plans for the future.
With Tom beginning to see the benefits of a new kind of rehabilitation, over in the women's units, it's time for some gardening.
Just spread it out.
Spread it out.
With the rake. I'll have a go.
You wanna?
Do you have another rake? When's the last time you raked, Mickey?
I don't know. Long time.
It's a chance for the guest inmates to meet Tracy, a recovering drug addict and mother of 4 who's spent much of her adult life on the inside.
Can you see yourself getting out of the cycle?
While I'm in here, I've worked so hard. Yeah, I can, but it's a different ball game when once you're at freedom. You know, it's just sticking to the support that you're linked up with.
Ironically, it's this place that's given Tracy the only real education she's ever had.
Yeah, I've achieved so much in prison. You know, I've got all the certificates. I surprised myself. I started on horticulture too. I've got hospitality, I've got cleaning, I've got bricklaying, tiling. You know, I just did my resume, so yeah, I'm proud of it. Proud of myself and education and that. So yeah. You know, I was shy and, you know, really, I couldn't read properly. So yeah, I do a lot of education and maths.
How's your reading?
Good now.
Yeah. Great.
So yeah, can read to my children. You know.
After hearing Tracy's story, a once circumspect Nikki has been won over.
I feel like this is an environment where these women are they can heal better. They can be peaceful. There's no yelling. There's no yelling. I think about a prison and I think of, you know, a movie. I think of tin cups being whacked against bars and things like that, and it couldn't be less like that.
But this unique prison comes at a cost. The bill for housing each inmate here is almost $1,200 a day, around 4 times the national average.
It's costing all as taxpayers a lot of money. It's a very expensive prison. Is it worth it?
Yeah, if you break the cycle of recidivism, it is. Because the flip side is someone who's going to be in and out of chokey until they die in their mid-50s, for example.
The thing that struck me is that this is really a lot of these people's first real crack at a structured environment where they can try and learn and better themselves. You know, a lot of these people didn't have a great time at school at all and got out pretty much as soon as they could. But for many of these guys' lives and women's lives, this is the first time they've been in an environment where they have structure, stability, discipline, and people invested in them doing well and rewarding their good behaviour. It's really sad that that place where they're getting all that is prison, but whilst they're here, I think it's a good thing that they have those things.
Their time at West Kimberley Regional is over.
Thanks for your time. Thanks for chatting.
No. I've never seen her.
The group is entering the final leg of their immersive journey into Aboriginal Australia. And with David Oldfield back on board, the debate is set to rage. The 6 have arrived in Cowan in far north Queensland. They're about to discover how this place is one of 4 small Aboriginal communities in Cape York, subject to the radical welfare reform agenda of Indigenous lawyer Noel Pearson.
Welcome to my home.
Thank you.
3 of the group have been invited to the home of traditional owner and up-and-coming leader Dion Creek to find out more.
The norm of young men and women in this community between 17 and 35 is that these are second-generation welfare. They would do 2 days of job services or work for the dole program. They would get drunk on Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And the same cycle repeats itself. People have been doing that for 10 years.
Yeah.
And how do you engage these people? How do you transition them from welfare into jobs?
Under the hardline agenda, those on welfare can be told how to spend their benefits by a commission of senior Aboriginal people.
community leaders and community elders have the authority to income manage parents who are neglecting their children. Your children haven't been going to school, you've been in and out of courts, you need to get your act together or this is what's going to happen. And if they 3 strikes go off, their benefits managed. So they get a basic card system where they don't get money in the hand, it's only allowed at the shops to buy food.
So Dion, your approach appears to be reasonably conservative, somewhere between paternalism and tough love. Would you say that's fair?
Tough policy decisions need to be made in the best interest of our children.
We've heard about the importance of getting the community working and education. How important to your people is their culture?
I think culture is hugely important. 40,000 years of history and heritage should not be forgotten about. You know,
Dion may believe Aboriginal culture and tradition can sit alongside this brave new world of welfare reform. But for David, Indigenous heritage is totally overvalued.
There's just been too much BS about Aboriginality, culture, 60,000, 80,000, 50,000 years. There's just been too much BS attached to all of that. You talk about the celebration of a language, wasn't recorded, nothing was written. A lot of it doesn't, in context to our language as we understand it, even make any sense. It's utterings.
What advantage do you think there is in children learning Aboriginal language? What will they actually do with it apart from communicate with their own parents and friends?
It's about maintaining our culture and our heritage. It's the heritage of this country.
But to what end? What's the productive end? Like, for example, if Aboriginal people spoke Japanese, you know, there's the potential there for jobs like there is for anybody because of incoming tourism and aspects like that.
Well, there you go, David. Your take all the time on whether a culture has any value at all is based on its economic potential.
Yeah, that's right. I'm looking for a productive outcome, and I have to say, I think Dion is also looking for a productive outcome.
No, but he's also saying that maintaining a cultural heritage is its own end. And I would agree with him.
I agree too.
In what productive sense?
No, exactly. Stop thinking about productive sense.
Oh, that's right. Don't be productive.
He's saying it's important to them. That's what he's saying.
Hang on, Natalie, I hear everything. Don't think that I don't hear it. I don't agree. There's a big difference between not listening and taking something in and not agreeing. I'm not agreeing. I've heard it.
Even though he's saying it's important to them.
Yeah, I understand that it's important to Dion.
And to their culture, not just Dion, but
Dion's
to
point
his,
of view.
to his people.
Yeah, but I'm not convinced that in the long term it
and
is
you know
the
what?
best.
That's your own opinion.
Of course it is.
Unfortunately, it comes back to the respect. And from what I gather is that you have very little respect for our language. I don't care if it's not going to help some Japanese tourists. It's about.
Well, see, we're just seeing it differently. I mean, that's the thing, Dion. It's not a question of respect.
Oh, it's absolutely about respect.
It has nothing to do with respect at all. It's a question of.
You have very little regard for our language.
I have no regard for it.
You have no regard for our language.
It's a matter of what it is that's productive and what can be useful.
Language and our peoples moving forward can coexist. We're never going to convince people like you.
Maybe I'm missing something, but Dion was sitting there saying how important language and culture is to Aboriginal people, and it just didn't seem to be landing with David. I don't know. He doesn't see the importance to it, and it kind of breaks my heart a little bit because he's sitting there saying it's important.
With tension simmering, the group heads to bed. And by morning, it's time to go back to school and learn more about this radical experiment.
Glenn, Nikki.
Nikki, nice to meet you, Nikki.
Hi, Renee.
Hey, Renee, nice to meet you.
Hi, Natalie.
Natalie, nice to meet you.
David.
David, nice to meet you. So we have about 56 students here at the school. Our philosophy of the school is that no child's left behind and making sure that they really orbit between two worlds, We have a really high attendance rate here at the school. We're averaging about 90% attendance regularly.
What percentage of your pupils are Aboriginal?
We have about 98%. We have one non-Indigenous student here at the school.
Before lessons even begin, the six soon learn that things here run a little differently to your average Australian school.
Who can tell me what one of our character strengths is? What's that, sorry? Grit. And what does it mean to show grit?
Not giving up.
Not giving up. Exactly, not giving up. Canel, what's another character strength?
Optimism.
Optimism. Canel, what does it mean to be optimistic? Looking on the bright side of things. Excellent.
And walking quietly to the classroom.
For many of the pupils here, English is a second language. And they sometimes come from homes where the parents themselves are illiterate. The first lesson of the day, and time for the six to see a controversial teaching method in action.
Okay, I'm going to read the words in red and then you're going to spell them. What are you going to do?
Spell them.
That's right. Dollars. What word?
Dollars.
Let's spell dollars. Get ready.
D-O-L-L-A-R-S.
What word?
Dollars.
When is Y vowel letter get ready? When it's at
the end of a morphograph.
When is Y vowel letter get ready?
Direct instruction sees teachers working to a tight script and pupils sounding out and repeating words by rote.
Watering, what word?
Watering.
First morphograph, get ready.
Water.
Next morphograph, get ready.
E.
Spell watering, get ready.
W-A-T-E-R-I-N-G.
The plan is that the pupils here will reach a standard so they can head off to boarding school up until year 12. For Tom, it looks like they might just get there.
The amount of hope in the school is pretty extraordinary. There's posters up on the walls of kids saying what they want to be when they grow up. There's the constant mantra of get ready, work hard, be good. And grit. Grit is a value. Zest is also a value. And optimism. Optimism is a key value.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. That's probably taken for granted in a lot of schools, like in my primary school and high school. It's like, of course, we're optimistic. You're young people, you're going to have a big life ahead of you. Here, it's like, no, we're making that a specific value to remind ourselves to be optimistic and look on the bright side of things.
And for David, this is the moment on the trip he's long been waiting for.
Nothing has excited me through the course of this trip until now. I was really excited for the kids. You know, it's clear that they're intelligent, they're learning. The biggest thing is they're learning.
With David beginning to see the positives, Dion's asked the former One Nation politician to join his team of rangers out on country. Dion employs around 20 staff to help trap thousands of feral pigs that are running wild and destroying the land. For him, Aboriginal people's ancient connection to country should be about employment, now and for the future.
Yep.
You know, we had to be very, very strategic when we created jobs and how we can create jobs on country. It's not about going out to homelands and appreciating country anymore. It's about getting out there and actually getting stuff done. And it's about traditional knowledge and Western science. And the two often intertwine. And that's what we're in the heart of that right now. We know how to look after the country. A lot of the work that we do is, you know, it comes back to the education. It's critically important why kids have to be educated. Because they'd be able to, you know, what we're doing now, they'd be able to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
You know, they should be the researchers and the scientists coming back.
Dicko's finally found a philosophy that matches his.
It fits my crazy mixed up approach to Aboriginal Australia. You know, I'm a little bit of a bleeding heart lefty, but I tend towards a neoconservative, get off your arse and start working approach to life as well. And Dion ticks all of my boxes. So I've got little love hearts going out to him right now. Yes,
Nightfall, and the group gathers. After 2 days in Cohen, they still have questions. And Dion's not holding back with the answers.
And what's your answer to the generation now, the people who are disenfranchised, and what's the answer for those people?
Unfortunately, some people are unemployable. The reality. I don't shy away from that. But if they're going to be on welfare, then make them do something. You know, I'd be making people grab a broom and sweep from that end of the street to that end of the street. You know, get them to do work. Passive welfare is killing our communities. You know, and I make no apologies for this, that people need to get off their asses and take responsibility.
I've tried to imagine the words that you've spoken tonight coming from a white fella.
I get in trouble sometime for my some of my views, but it's about getting our kids educated, getting them out to the wider world, and hoping they come back with the necessary skills to move our community forward. We can't develop our country. We can't reap the benefits from it if our children in the next generation are not properly educated.
Not for the first time, David likes what he's hearing. For him, this could be a blueprint for change for all Australians.
Much of what we've seen here in Cohen would do well to be replicated in other parts of Australia, and I don't necessarily just mean in Aboriginal communities.
The group's journey into Aboriginal Australia is almost over, but not before one final day of reckoning. The final day of the group's immersive journey into Aboriginal Australia. And they're making their way onto country, where Ray Martin is waiting.
Well, hello and goodbye. This is the last time we meet like this. I think you'd agree, though, that the last 27 days have been really special. You've been invited into Aboriginal Australia. You've walked on their land like this. You've slept under their roofs and in jail, Tom. You've met their children and you've heard their stories, which have mostly been sad. But when we first began, you admitted that you'd had little or no contact with blackfellas. And you had some things to say that I think, as well as shocking Aboriginal people, might well shock you. So we're going to have a look at some of the things you said. And you're lucky first, Renee.
Oh. Interview?
Yes. So press the button and have a look.
I'm scared of Aboriginal people, the ones I've had contact with, so I don't know, I'm intimidated by them. I'm scared to talk to them in the city. So yeah, I'm scared. Oh, thank God that's over.
Are you still scared of Aboriginal people?
I have more of an understanding now. I know what's going on. I know why they're drinking. There's just so many layers to it. I know a lot of people I know, my friends my age, knew as much as I did before I started this show, which was pretty much nothing at all. So to be able to spread what happened and educate more people on it, I think needs to be done.
Renee, it's been quite a journey. Dicko, you're next.
At some point, everyone on this planet has to adopt a sense of responsibility. Get off your arse and do something if you want to, escape your plight. I'm worried about finding out that when push comes to the shove, I'm just a dirty big racist.
So what did you find out? Are you a dirty big racist?
I'm pleased to reach the end of this and convince myself that I'm not a racist. And I felt like I could actually speak about Aboriginal Australia as freely and openly as I wanted. And in fact, that's what I'm going to miss is going back to tight-ass left-wing Australia when we can't actually have a conversation about this without minding our P's and Q's.
All right, Nikki, it's your turn.
We're culturally very different. We have different priorities. I floss and brush twice a day without fail. We're going to smell different. I suppose if pushed, I would have to say I have had racist thoughts about Aboriginal people. I don't hate them. I don't love them. But maybe I don't care or think enough about them.
You said you didn't care. If you watch the news now, do you think you'll care?
I'll care more than care. I'll be obsessed. I'm kind of obsessed. I have loved this so much. It made me question my own culture, and I don't have enough of it. I don't have anywhere near enough of it. Because they're miles ahead of me. No matter how they smell, no matter how many times a day they floss, no matter how many people live in their house, they are miles ahead of me.
Natalie, let's remind you of what you said.
I'm seeing them sitting around a fire, living off the land. Yeah, maybe the illusions I have in my mind and this image I have in my mind is going to be destroyed. Who knows? I don't know.
What shocked you? Anything?
Probably seeing the conditions that Aboriginal people have to live in was very difficult. That was really hard. And mainly because I don't have solutions springing to mind that are straightforward. The whole situation on welfare has really made me realise that these people need leadership and they do need to get off their bum. And they need the opportunities, the practicalities of jobs being there for them to go out and get.
Okay, David, let's see what your opinions were.
It's not actually good for Aborigines to remain Aborigines. They should be Australians, and you just naturally let it die out. I mean, frankly, it should have died out, like the Stone Age died out.
In 27 days, have you learnt one thing?
I've learned many things, Ray, but I can't help but think that you have the idea that somebody learning something means they have to have changed their mind about something.
But you've just heard 4 people say they've been on a remarkable journey.
The other people that have been on their remarkable journey have indeed had their remarkable journey, not mine. They started from a different place with different views.
Yesterday you did say something, you found something positive.
There were many positives, and it's ridiculous to suggest that I didn't find positives. It's ridiculous to suggest that I didn't meet people that I like. It's ridiculous to suggest that I didn't see things that I think are fantastic for the children in particular.
All right, let's move it on to Tom. Lucky last.
You know, I think people on the right will tell you that, hey, no matter who you are in this country, if you pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you can get out there and you can achieve. Now, that's a lovely idea that is severely divorced from reality, because we don't all start at the same place in the race.
You put your hand up to being a bleeding heart. Are you still a bleeding heart?
Yeah, I think so. There were moments when David and I were disagreeing passionately, and my impression is that he saw my compassion as a weakness. I don't think it is. I think it's a strength.
Would you agree that Aboriginal people, if they don't have a job, should be put to work?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Would you have said that a month ago?
Probably not, because I didn't know enough about it at all. No, I wouldn't have.
Okay. I'm just wondering, out of 27 days, something that's sort of locked in your brain, in your memory bank. Natalie, for you, one moment.
The 4 women we met who told us about what happened to them, the stolen generation, but the positivity and light that they had.
I had no idea, and the 4 women that got up and spoke to me were the most influential people I've ever met.
From what they went through and what they all have decided to do with that experience is quite a feat. I am very sorry that I haven't spent more of my life thinking about people like that.
Dicko?
I need to retrace a lot of my steps with my wife because I know a lot of stuff now, and she's my soulmate, and she needs to know it too, because
even that emotionally moves you, the very thought.
It does, because I mean, that was the hardest thing, seeing a lot of this stuff and not being able to explain it to her. She needs to see it.
All right, this has been your first contact. I think you'd agree that Aboriginal Australia is diverse, it's rich, and it's certainly complex. I suspect that your journey really has only just started. Thanks for your company.
Thank you, Ray. Thanks, Ray. I actually don't think we can be complete or grow up as a country unless we truly fix Aboriginal Australia and acknowledge these wonderful different cultures we have. It's really opened my eyes.
I've got a lot of hope for the future for Australia, and it involves Aboriginal people being integrated, educated, and having a bright future.
I know myself, I had no understanding, so I was one of the people who was like, oh, well, they're just lazy, they're doing nothing, all they do is get drunk, whereas that's completely wrong.
Hope surely has to be when children have a start, when children have opportunity, when children have hope, then there is hope. And I certainly saw some kids who probably don't really know what hope means, but you could see that they've got it.
And I just wish every Australian could have the opportunity to do what we've just done. And I could do this for weeks. I'm not ready to go home.
This has been unlike anything else I've ever done in my entire life. I want a country that celebrates the first Australians. It doesn't just cope with them, it doesn't bear with them, it doesn't deny who they are and what happened to them. It embraces that, it faces up to that like a grown-up country.